Hello everyone, welcome to my channel, Bachelor Nation News fans. The Bachelor winner, Juliana Pasquarosa, isn't holding back, fiercely defending her relationship after claims that Grant Ellis settled for her. Fans of the popular show were treated to an explosive final episode, which saw a dramatic twist. In the season 29 finale of the show, Grant Ellis, 31, proposed to the former client service associate turned reality TV star, 28, in the Dominican Republic, leaving runner-up Letitia Garhart broken. Despite earlier assurances to Letitia, the ex-basketball player and hunk chose Juliana, leading to emotional confrontations during the After the Final Rose segment. Since then, Grant has been bitterly ripped into by fans of the series, with many accusing him of leading Letitia on before ultimately picking Juliana. Despite them questioning Ellis's true intentions, he and Juliana have strongly denied the accusations as they fired back at their critics. In one of Juliana's recent TikTok videos, she was forced to hit back at social media users who accused Grant of only picking her because they'd slept together in the fantasy suite. One person appeared to suggest that Letitia, being too classy for Grant, was left behind because he settled for her, claiming he'd wanted to choose her until the last minute. The brunette beauty wasn't having any of it. She clapped back, writing, "So you think after a year of being celibate, he just gave it up for me? Think again, girl. And seriously, get a hobby. That's a fun story if you want to believe it." According to reports, the couple remains happily engaged, with Grant planning to move to Boston to be nearer to Juliana's family. Following the events of the final episode of the series, he has since issued an apology to his former flame. It comes after he had recently opened up to Us Weekly about the fallout from the dramatic finale of The Bachelor and his ongoing relationship with Letitia. Reflecting on the emotional journey, he shared, "I let her speak her truth and her piece. I'm not going to sit up there and argue with her on stage about what I thought I said." He continued, "I'm not going to argue. I just have to accept whatever the conditions are and apologize and let her feel how she feels, because she's in a tough situation and she's hurt." The confetti had barely settled from the Bachelor season 29 finale when the rumors began swirling. What should have been the happiest chapter in Juliana Pasquarosa's life was quickly clouded by online firestorms, shady interviews, and fans who were still rooting for someone else, specifically Letitia Gar. Whispers turned into hashtags. Tweets became TikToks. Grant settled trended faster than the actual finale clip. Strangers debated the validity of Grant's love for Juliana as if they were sitting in the control room on filming day. Some fans claimed he looked more in love with Letitia. Others accused him of being too nice to say no, and the boldest even speculated producers had forced the proposal to Juliana. But Juliana, she wasn't going to stay quiet. Not this time. Silence isn't always golden. For weeks, Juliana tried to let it go. The romance with Grant Ellis, America's blue-eyed bachelor with a heart as wide as his Texas hometown, was real to her. She reminded herself of the little moments, the late-night talks producers didn't air, the way he reached for her hand without thinking, the letters he wrote between rose ceremonies. She had faith that people would come around. But when even former Bachelor contestants started going on podcasts, dropping phrases like, "he settled," or "Letitia was the one who got away," something inside her snapped. "I don't care if I get labeled the villain again," Juliana whispered to her best friend, Carolina, over brunch one day in LA, slamming her coffee cup onto the table. "You sure you want to do this?" Carolina asked. "Going public with this will stir a lot of drama." Juliana's eyes narrowed. "I didn't steal anyone's dream. Grant picked me, and the world's gonna hear it from me, not from jealous fans or washed-up contestants chasing relevance." The interview heard round Bachelor Nation. Juliana chose Bachelor Nation Unfiltered for her exclusive. The YouTube talk show, hosted by ex-bachelorette Charity Lawson and media-savvy alum Ivan Hall, had a no-nonsense reputation. It wasn't a gossip pit, it was a truth sanctuary. "I'm not here to throw shade," Juliana began, eyes sharp, voice calm. "But I need to set the record straight, for myself, for Grant, and for every woman who's ever been called a consolation prize." Ivan leaned in. "Let's talk about the elephant in the room. People think Grant chose you because he was scared of hurting Lytia, that he settled." Juliana smiled, not sweetly, not coyly, but with purpose. "Let me ask you something, Ivan. Does a man settle for someone he calls his best friend at 2 a.m. after filming stops? Does a man settle when he breaks contract rules to text you, 'I love you,' weeks before the finale?" Charity blinked. Ivan's eyebrows lifted. "That's right," Juliana said. "We weren't supposed to text, but Grant couldn't help himself. He chose me on-screen and off-screen. You think a man under pressure risks $1 million fine just to keep me close?" The clip went viral within hours. Fans clipped her lines, memes exploded. Even People reposted her response with the headline, "Juliana Pasquarosa speaks her truth, and it's a mic drop moment." But not everyone was thrilled. Days after the interview, Lytia Gar, an elegant, articulate, and still very much beloved, appeared on Chicks in the Rose Room, a popular Bachelor podcast hosted by franchise alums Ashley I and Becca Kufrin. "I'm not bitter," she insisted, twirling her diamond necklace, "but I do think Juliana's tone was defensive. I never accused Grant of anything. The public has opinions, and she needs to learn not to internalize them." The shade was subtle, but fans caught it. Juliana, seeing clips of the interview while eating sushi with Grant, simply smirked. "She's too classy to say it out loud, but she still thinks she should have been picked," she told him. Grant reached for her hand. "Let her think what she wants. I don't need to prove anything to anyone. We know what's real." She tilted her head. "Yeah, but I do." The letter that changed everything. What fans didn't know until now was that Grant Ellis had written Juliana a letter the night before the final rose ceremony. He wasn't supposed to. The producers wanted the ending to feel uncertain. But Grant didn't do uncertainty when it came to Juliana. In his neat, swoopy handwriting, Grant wrote, "Jules, there's a moment when everything quiets down, the cameras, the pressure, the fear, and in that stillness, all I hear is your laugh. I don't want to wake up to anyone else's smile for the rest of my life. You make me feel like more than a bachelor. You make me feel like a man who's home." Juliana never showed it to producers. She folded it, tucked it into her makeup bag, and read it every night after filming wrapped. When the headlines about being second choice broke, she almost posted the letter. But she knew she didn't need proof. She just needed the world to see their love the way she did. The reunion no one saw coming. The Bachelor Tell-All reunion special was filmed 3 weeks after Juliana's interview. Producers expected fireworks, and they got them. Juliana walked in wearing red, not just any red, statement red, lipstick matching, slit up the thigh, "I'm the winner and I know it" red. Lytia wore white. Subtle jabs passed between them, veiled in compliments. But when the host, Jesse Palmer, asked if either woman had anything to say to the other, Juliana shocked everyone. "I'm actually glad it was you, Lytia," the audience gasped. Juliana continued, "Because you were strong, confident. I had to fight for his love next to a woman like you. That made it real. If he'd wanted someone easier to love, he wouldn't have picked me." Lytia smiled tightly. "You're right. It wasn't easy for him." The crowd oohed. Jesse blanked. But Juliana, she just smiled wider. "Because I'm not easy to settle for. I'm hard to deserve. And he chose me anyway." Behind closed doors,
The night after the reunion aired, Juliana and Grant sat in their downtown LA apartment, wine glasses in hand. "You didn't have to go that hard," Grant teased, scrolling through Twitter reactions. She needed to hear it. I needed to hear it. Out loud. He leaned over, kissing her shoulder. "Do you still believe me that I chose you?" She turned, dead serious. "No, I don't believe you." Grant froze. She grinned, "Because I know you did." He laughed, pulling her into his arms. "You're dangerous when you're confident." She raised her glass. "Then buckle up, baby, because I've never been more sure." A love that refuses to be rewritten. Weeks passed. Rumors faded. Fan edits began to resurface with kinder captions. Even some of Laitia's most loyal supporters admitted Juliana's words hit different when paired with real love. And Grant, he wasn't quiet either. On his Instagram story, he posted a selfie of him and Juliana curled up on the couch, no makeup, sweatpants, popcorn. The caption? "If settling looks like this, I hope I never rise again. Hashtag chosen her every time." The internet lost it. Juliana posted her own story later, zooming in on Grant's face. "Does this look like a man who settled or a man who won?" The final word. At a charity event 6 months later, Juliana was asked if she had any regrets about how she handled the backlash. "None," she said. "You can't win with everyone, but you can win with the right person. And when that happens, you stop playing by the crowd's rules." A reporter asked, "Do you have anything to say to the people who still think you weren't his first choice?" Juliana smiled that same unbothered smile. "I wasn't his first date, but I was his last decision, and that's the only one that ever mattered." Let them talk. The tabloids eventually moved on, but Bachelor Nation never forgot that one fiery season. Juliana Pasquarosa went from misunderstood finalist to one of the most iconic women in the show's history. Why? Because she didn't beg for acceptance. She didn't cry to be believed. She looked the world straight in the eye and said, "I was never the fallback. I was always the finish line." And Grant? He never settled. He chose her every time.